Good morning, Psych students. Today we'll be talking about the Stanford prison experiments. Hopefully, you had a chance to watch the video yesterday featuring the almighty Dr. Zimbardo and many of the people who participated, both prisoners and guards alike, in the Stanford prison experiments. So, earlier in the week, we started with Milgram. Milgram, probably the most controversial experiment in the history of social psychology, one of the more unethical ones because as you saw, people really were put through agony, put through suffering, the idea that perhaps they too could kill someone or shock someone just because they were being told to. So Milgram's study and his conclusion was all about obedience, okay, and what makes us obey orders, even if the orders are on the unethical or the immoral side. Zimbardo kind of takes this a step further, and the whole hypothesis Zimbardo's dealing with is what happens if we put people in bad situations. Okay, what happens if we put people in these roles? How are they going to respond? If you've ever known anybody in your life, maybe a teacher, police officer, adult somewhere who's let their authority go to your head, that's really what Zimbardo's looking at proving in his experiment. So just to process it and review, Zimbardo at Stanford takes 24, or I think, I can't remember the number exactly. It's like between 9 and 12 kids who aren't that much older than you, just regular college students, and he divides them into two groups, and half of them are guards and half of them are prisoners. And he creates this like little microcosm prison in the basement of a Stanford psychology building, in basically in a lab. There are classes and research going on upstairs, and this is in the basement. So at first, very little happens. Okay, the guards are the guards, the prisoners are the prisoners, and everybody seems to be going along with it. It's what starts to happen where things get out of control because, as you saw in the video yesterday, the guards started acting sadistically. The prisoners revolted. The guards acted more sadistically, creating all kinds of humiliating punishments, naked push-ups, chaining them together. You had this concept, we'll talk about it a little later in the unit, de-individuation, where they basically made everybody a number. And this experiment was supposed to go on for 2 weeks. And he had to end it after 6 days because after 6 days, people were suffering from emotional breakdowns. People were traumatized by it. The guards had amped up the punishment, amped up the humiliation, and the prisoners had started to fall apart. They had to pull some people out early because, as you saw in the video yesterday, they're screaming, they're crying, they're having emotional breakdowns. So Zimbardo, in the aftermath of this, wonders, well, how on earth did this happen? And his conclusion is that it's the power of the situation. He always talks about this. He's the guy, you may remember him from earlier in the year. He does all these psych videos for Discovering Psychology for PBS. He says it's the power of the situation and that it overrides people's sense of right and wrong, all that moral reasoning that we talked about in developmental psych earlier in the year, that we can be good people, we can be decent and honest people, but if you put us in a bad situation, the situation or the role that we're asked to play can sometimes overrule that. Okay, so, I feel like we'll use teachers as an example. Most of the teachers you've had in your life are probably good people who want, hopefully, who really want to help kids do well. There have probably been situations where they've lost their temper or, let the power of being a teacher and authority over kids go to their head. Whether it was, humiliating the class or punishing an individual student and things like that. You could say the same thing, any authority figure in military, they use that in the video. Police, any sort of situation, maybe a boss that you've had who's let the power go to his or her head. But the idea is that these could be good people, like the people in the Stanford prison experiment, regular college students, and you put them in a bad situation, and the situation overrides everything. The situation takes control. The power of the role, that he would say. So, his conclusion is that you can take people, think about it later in life. Maybe one of you will become a boss. Maybe one of you becomes an authority figure to other people. are you going to let that authority go to your head? Are you going to let, the situation override? And the reason they brought up the Abu Ghraib situation in Iraq again is that you had probably good people who got lost in the situation, and they got caught up. And one of the things we'll be focusing on as social psychology moves on, as we move through the rest of the unit, is what there's positive group influence and there's negative group influence. Okay, are there times when being in a group of people cause you to move in a positive direction? Maybe you're more likely to help somebody because you see other people helping in social learning theory. Are there times like negative social influence, like the John Wayne type character from yesterday, where one of the guards decided he was gonna amp up the abuse and he was going to step it up a notch, and then the other guards following him? Are there times when the situation we have negative group influence on us? So that's something we'll be moving through. We'll hit some more vocab on that tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday, and we'll see you then.